I wish I could share the stage with them today, but the honor today goes to NEAR Foundation's Raili Liiva. They're going to be talking about Web3 frontiers, insights from global NEAR regional hubs. Let's give a huge round of applause, everybody.
I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
David, here. So we are in the line, I guess.
So hi everybody, I'm really happy to see you all here. I hope you've had like a wonderful conference so far, and I'm really happy that you're actually tuning in for this topic because it's very close to my heart, because we're going to be discussing regional development, and we have this amazing lineup of speakers here that have been happy to collaborate for the past couple of months, just getting to know them, and it's been an amazing journey so far. So we're going to kick things off with Vietnam. And we've been seeing Vietnam thriving for a long time now. And actually, you just, in a month back, put together an amazing conference called Near APAC, which is pretty much, showing the way for NEARCON as well. So maybe you can tell me a little bit more about like how the event went and what kind of impact did it had on the local community as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think leading up to the event, our team had to spend up to like 6 to 8 months of preparation. We had a wide variety of different audiences, so planning all the activities and coming up with a good communication strategy was a big part of it. And so we had to deep research our audiences, find those guest speakers, work with a few strategic partners, and ultimately distributing all of that was quite a lot of work, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, the results kind of speak for itself. And as you mentioned, we had up to 20 people that showed up across both day, 25,000 registration. I think for the hackathon that was a part of that as well, we had over 200 projects. So the sheer number really shows the amount of kind of enthusiasm or interest that Vietnamese people really have for blockchain technology, and more specifically for NEAR. And through the event, I think has really cemented NEAR as one of the more promising layer one blockchain for a lot of people to really discover it. I don't think this is limited to just developers, but also from a lot of our partners, traditional Web2 businesses, as well as university. So leading up to the event, we also run quite a few programs at universities, little mini hackathons to kind of get the student engaged. And yeah, I think at the end of the day, huge proud to the team. It was a big first major event that we hosted. So a lot of lessons that we learned, but hopefully we're going to see something even more spectacular in the following years. Yeah.
So are you planning to actually have the event next year as well? Is it
Oh
like
yeah, we're hoping. Yeah, we're planning right now on some things that we knew. I think I had a talk with Cameron about a week ago on some of the ideas that we can run for that as well. So yeah, very exciting.
Awesome, awesome. Very happy to hear that. So maybe we can jump ahead with Cameron. Through, NEAR OG, been running strategic initiatives for NEAR Foundation, now part of the NDC, and also leading our hub in the USA. So maybe you can share a little bit more about how things are going in the USA. Are you seeing any specific like emerging trends, and how are we actually doing things in US right now?
Totally. It's not a surprise to a lot of people here, but crypto is kind of hard in the US right now. The regulation is really limiting a lot of potential innovation, but that does not mean people don't want access to their money, data, and governance. And so I think it's really just about kind of shifting this narrative a little bit, and I'm really happy to see kind of NEAR refocusing on the open web, because this is ultimately why I'm here and why I think a lot of people in the United States would also be interested. AI is sort of taking over as well, and so this sort of refocus to AI after NEAR's origins, starting as an AI company, is super helpful. So just as a metric I do throw around every once in a while, we sponsored a hackathon at Stanford not that long ago, and there was over 280 projects that submitted. About 6 of them were building in blockchain. That's not very many, and so they're all building AI projects. So I'm very interested in seeing how we can help bridge this divide, and especially as more concern happens in AI. Like there was an executive order recently by President Biden to limit, I guess, the amount of like compute like certain large language models can have, and so there's a lot of hysteria kind of coming, and so I think that this is a potentially great opportunity to actually push the narrative of the open web rather than focus on the speculative nature of crypto. So we're getting there. So I'm optimistic.
That's really cool. And actually, you just had an event related to AI yesterday. How did that went?
That was great. Really just trying to get all the AI builders that are focused on NEAR together. There's not a huge moat in AI right now. It's primarily like compute, data or like you need hardcore researchers on your team to build new models. And so really what we're seeing is a lot of like ChatGPT wrappers or just some sort of like applications using them. So I'm really excited to see more cutting edge research around building smaller models that can, do inference on chain. Again, this is like very new, and we're going to probably need a lot of research and money to go into this effort. But there is a lot of interest. So, and ultimately, it's like there's all this Hollywood hysteria and stuff about Terminator, and people are scared about AI. So I actually think crypto can be seen, or blockchains or the open web, better yet, as a solution for people to sort of own their digital selves. And Americans are very interested in that.
That's really cool. I'm really looking forward to seeing more things happening there with that topic. But yeah, jumping into Korea. Hi, Scott.
Hi.
It's great having you here. And actually, our journey with Near Korea started like a year ago in November. So I think congratulations are in order.
Thank you. Thank you.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how things are going in Korea. I know that there's a lot of gaming-related activities happening, but what are your like main learnings from the past year, for example,
Yeah,
main
first-
highlights?
Right. Yeah. First of all, I'm really glad to be part of the Near ecosystem. And last year in NEARCON 2022, we are not near Korea, so it's been a year now, and we are very heavily focusing on the gamings, bringing a lot of good IPs onto Near. We partner with Netmarble, Marblex, and Kakao Games. We made some of the major Web3 gaming companies in Korea. So interestingly, Korea, not only the gaming companies, but entertainment companies, any enterprises, big conglomerates, they're all very interested in Web3, and I think they are believing that Near is where AI and blockchain kind of intersects. So we are getting a lot of inbound calls. And that's why we kind of invited SK Telecom to be here and having a keynote. She just did that. And then we are also very focused on bringing and building a builders community, developers community. Rust language is not necessarily the formula language for Korean developers, but we're trying to bring a lot of young talent, college and universities developers onto Near. And for example, we threw out a glitch hackathon. It's a multi-chain hackathon. So we had an Avalanche, Polygon, BNB chain. Who else? I forgot, but we won the hackathon. So Near team won the hackathon, so it was very meaningful. And we are continuing to do a lot of hackathons and side events. So yeah, I think Korea, and they're opening up STO. The Korean government is opening up security token offering, and they are coming with a guideline. So I'm very bold on real-world assets tokenization. I think it's coming very soon from Korea.
That's awesome to hear. And so, Ida, you've been with Near for almost 2 years now, right?
Almost.
And
If we counted like in the normal years, it might be like 10. It feels like 10.
Yeah.
that's fair point. But you've been actually leading Near, Near in 7 different countries. So what's that like? Do you actually have like different strategies for all of these different countries, or what's the approach there?
Yeah, it's very interesting because you have 7 like smaller countries, and each one has its own culture. But it's also very similar in another way, and like similarity in the languages. Geographically, it's not so far away. So for us, it was at first we needed to set up all of the operations on the terrain, because a lot of it was about just like making all of them aware of what Near actually is. A lot of them knew about the other chains, such as Ethereum. Solana was active, Polygon was active, but not a lot of them knew what Near was when we were starting. So we had a lot of catching up to do. So obviously we decided to do a lot of the meetups being on the ground. So we took some time to like logistically organize everything, but like we combined that with a lot of meetups. We sponsored key conferences. We also did a lot of PR and marketing, which was very important. We tapped into the enterprise partnerships. So like we did partnerships with the entertainment companies. We did partnerships with companies such as MasterCard. So we just wanted to make sure that Web3 in general, but through Near, is present within the whole region. And I think a year and a half after, I can like really say that when you say Web3, if people know what Web3 is, people also know what Near is within the region. And I think this was really important because we see a lot of other chains coming into the region now. the Eastern Europe has been very famous for its IT development in Web2. We have a couple of unicorns came out of the region recently, so we are really working hard on enabling the new generation of developers and actually switching the existing one and the founders into the Web3. And hopefully my wish is in 2 to 3 years potentially see like a huge company coming out from the region into the Web3 space, and even bigger wish is that they built on Near. So that's kind of the goal that we are aiming towards.
I think it's a really good dream to have. But yeah, in terms of like different initiatives, understandably, all countries are different, and you have your own stories, your own backgrounds, and so on and so forth. Maybe each of you could actually share like what have not gone right. What are the main learnings that you've actually gone throughout the journey here? Maybe Cameron, you can
Yeah, I
kick us
can
off.
go. So, you know, we sometimes near ecosystem, we may sometimes talk about things a little bit too early. Boss was, I think, a version of this. Super cool technology, like composable, modular React components, decentralizing front ends, being able to just like drag and drop a Uniswap component that points to ETH-L1 or quick swap to Polygon zkVM and just embedding this in your site. Really cool. But the messaging didn't always land really well with people because people were confused about kind of what blockchains were to start. The second thing is like people don't really understand operating systems. And so when you throw it all together, you really leave people confused. And so it did take a little bit of teaching about like building on this and actually getting people to see it themselves. So I'd say messaging can be improved, but at the same time, the thing is there. Like it makes perfect sense to me that this is the right approach, because what we can do is actually then go to any web developer bootcamp in the world that teaches JavaScript and get them to build fully decentralized front ends. That's really cool. And so we haven't really cracked that nut totally yet, because I think we still need to improve some of the developer docs and platform like development platforms, and also just like the greater economy. So like if we, I've said this analogy before internally, but we need to make sure we're not filling a bucket with a hole at the bottom of it. If we're filling a bucket with a bunch of developers and founders, that there are very clear pathways to support them outside of just our core onboarding or like top of funnel programs. And so I'm looking forward to see how these solutions can be built across all regional hubs, because at the end of the day, we're all doing the same exact thing, and also working together on the messaging and translating educational content. So it's super early. Like all of us started about in the last year or so, and so we're all sort of getting our operational, foundation set up and the distribution set up and between the different hubs. We only run hubs in San Francisco and New York to start. We do plan to expand in 2024, which is really exciting. And it's going to be even better if we have messaging locked down and other partners to scale with. So I'm optimistic, but these are the things that can be improved.
Yeah, go ahead.
To Cam's point, and I completely agree. I think one of the things that we also saw maybe not working the best was the lack of communication within the ecosystem, which in the end resulted in being doing a lot of the double work. Like there is a lot of like double projects coming out of the ecosystem, and then you don't know like which one to push. Are they competitors? Can they work together? So there is a lot of like lack of the clarity on this part. I think in the last couple of months, they started being more clear, because we actually were like the whole ecosystem was doing more on the mapping of the project, like who can do what, how. I think we still have some way to go. But I do agree the common experience that can be provided by everybody else from the ecosystem outside and within the ecosystem is definitely something that we can all work on, and the cultural aspect of it is something that will make a whole lot of the difference. And I'm really happy that we have events like NEARCON, that we are coming together, and I think the hubs are playing a major role, because we can bring the insights from the specific locations. Like it's one thing to research on the internet, it's the other thing to actually be present there, speak to the people, get the insights. So I think like when we are all communicating together, there's like so many ideas coming up, and now it's on us to actually like put them into the specific action and make sure it goes on. And hopefully, like next year, we have more colleagues from other hubs joining us as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree. And it's so cool to see all of you like coming together at the NEARCON, sharing the ideas, the collaboration part, and everything else. So I'm really looking forward what the next year will actually, bring in terms of the collaboration. So Scott, David, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, three things. I think in terms of a BD, we are too shy, I think, at the beginning. I think we are too focused on the tech, and I think we are just building infras, for almost 2 years. So I think at the end of the day, we have to raise the brand awareness, and we have to, in order to play the playbook games, we have to be winning the top level accounts, like major corporations, any companies that you heard of. We should be winning that deals, and I think we should put a better effort to winning that deals. And Korea is becoming a battleground for layer ones because they are throwing monies, they're throwing grants, and they want to build a bigger deal. So I'm not trying to say, we should, invest more, but we should be smart, bringing these corporations, by playing playbook games. And secondly, I thought we were doing great communicating within the ecosystem. We're doing roundtables, town halls every week or bi-weekly. But to be honest, I was just told that Ilya is becoming the CEO during the offsite, during the NEARCON here this year. So I was arranging all the meetings with Chris Donovan, but I found out that he's a CEO now, so I had to change all the schedules, at the NEARCON. So we should do a better job, actually internally communicating to all the partners, regional hubs, any stakeholders of the NEAR ecosystem to be able to, make a strategy and then actually tell your partners, look, like we are communicating very well. And thirdly, I totally agree with the camera on that. A lot of people are getting confused with the BOS, whether it's a blockchain operating system. Is that for the device? Are you competing against iOS or Android? But that's not it, right? So we need to be able to do a better job, sending out a message to general public that, look, it's a very easy to use blockchain. We don't even have to use the word blockchain. It's just basically layer one that anyone can use, easy onboarding, simple. I think at the end of the day, we are competing against Web2 companies and Web2 products. So we need to be able to do a better job in terms of marketing.
Yeah, and I think the only thing I want to add is mostly the biggest difference in sort of our operations in Vietnam that I want to kind of focus on was mostly before, most of what we do was mostly through social media. And a lot of the content we share is just limited to just the posts or maybe some of the videos. So what we kind of lacked was credibility. So in big shift in our direction, sort of heading towards the beginning of this year, was sort of partnering with more institutions, traditional institutions, to get that kind of credibility for us to kind of push a lot of the message as well as a lot of things that NEAR is trying to push. Particularly in Vietnam, I feel like probably you may have heard of chain analysis report in 2022 being the #1 in terms of crypto adoption. But in reality, when you look at that, the majority of the people that are adopting is from a speculative standpoint, and even still to this point right now. So we ask ourselves, what are we not doing right in terms of communicating really more on the technology aspect of what NEAR is bringing? And so, yeah, a big part of what we want to do now is once again, partnering up with traditional Web2, either institutions or businesses in order to deliver the message, as well as bring a lot of global speakers. So NEAR APEC was sort of like that event for us to bring that here, to actually focus more on, building things rather than speculative nature of it. Yeah.
That's a very good point. And in terms of, you all have this kind of very strong background, and you know also how hard it might be to actually get started in Web3. What would be your #1 recommendation for a person now looking in and just wanting to get involved? How can you get involved in NEAR ecosystem, and what should be the first steps that you would recommend? So maybe Ida?
Just get ready to push your head through the wall. No, I mean, essentially Web3, we sometimes make science out of it. It's not a science. It's like every other emerging tech. It's just like the new one, which time has arrived. So I would say all of the people who like to explore new technologies, who like to explore new frontiers, new opportunities in general, why NEAR is great and why I liked NEAR when I decided to join NEAR is because it put a lot of accent on the user experience. And I believe like my background is in marketing and user experience, and I think like with everything you do, with everything you offer, you need to think about the user first, not what you find good and cool and relevant or beneficial. It's what they would find. So I think, and this is a lot, like it's also a lot of discussions we are having within the ecosystem, like how to bring the user experience up, how to think users first in the products we are building, in the events we are organizing, all of this stuff. So I would say like whoever wants to join Web3, Near is the perfect starting point. Uh, we just need to communicate it better. And it's part of our user experience building as well. So we kind of are in the position where we can now start walking the talk even better. But all of the people we've had the chance to get in contact with in the region, when they did start like doing something on Near, building on Near, like getting in contact with the Near community, they really liked it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a nice way to onboard them into the ecosystem.
Into the open web, right?
Absolutely.
Anything you want to add, Cameron?
Yeah, I mean, it just starts with going back to Ada's point. Like, what are you interested in? Like, I always start at, there's so many verticals. You can get into decentralized governance, NFTs, DeFi, verifiable privacy, distributed systems. Like, it goes on and on. And so, just meeting people where they are, and then sending them resources that kind of get them to go down that rabbit hole. And then if they're like totally new in Web3, I tell them to read white papers. I know it's like potentially boring, but if you really want to get into it, that's the best way to really get involved, is understand how this works. And then if they're trying to like work together, then I force them to teach, because if they can't teach it, then I don't know if they actually know it. And so this is a forcing function for them to learn it, generate some good content out of it, and ultimately get them more comfortable just speaking about it, because that's also what we need. We need more people that actually know what they're talking about, because this industry already has such a bad reputation with frauds and scams, so we don't need more people on stage waving their hands telling you to buy this thing. We need people who actually understand like how these systems operate at a fundamental level. And so I'm optimizing for quality over quantity, like 1,000%. If we wanted to, onboard all these people to Web3, we just give them money. I don't want to do that. I want people who are genuinely interested in the open web. So, yeah, quality over quantity every day of the week.
That's really beautiful.
I think there's just one thing I'd like to add to that in terms of like the message and how we communicate it is, I think from my perspective, it would be great if we can do more, a lot of like comparison to why we need a lot of the fundamental thing that's Web3 is kind of offering, and then compare that to traditional Web2, and then put that comparison like really obvious right next to one another. And the reason why I want to point that out is because, well, at least coming from my perspective in Vietnam, seeing how a lot of how the contents are delivered from a variety of different sources, just to give some context, most audiences within my region, language barrier is still kind of a big issue. So we kind of rely on a few sources for us to kind of learn more about the space. And just the way things are presented right now doesn't really communicate really how the values that Web3 bring is actually all that, how does it actually impact the users? What value does it bring for the users? And I don't think people really see that in order to sort of appreciate that and discover more for themselves to really get engaged into the field. Yeah.
Absolutely. So
Yeah,
Scott?
just to be quickly to add to that, I'm getting a lot of comments from all the companies, and especially the dev teams are saying that Near has a great documentation, such a great tooling. All the SDKs are great. So, but at the end of the day, they're making business decisions, and I need to be able to persuade them why Near is better. Not only the text, but also from the business standpoint. And I'm glad to see more consumer apps, coming from Near, such as Kaikai and Sweat, and then we need to be able to see more consumer app driving, this mass adoption. And hopefully, I think gaming is one of the consumer app as well. They're playing, in their daily basis. So I'd like to see more and more sort of massive user-based apps onto Near. I think we have the right platform to do that. So. I want to push more deals to achieve the mass adoption. Yeah.
Can I add one more thing to
Of
his point?
course.
So we've tried going also a lot onto the non-Web3 conferences, because these are the places where the new users are going to come from. And I think one of the very relevant things is to choose the right people to actually speak about Web3. Because what we've seen also so far, there is people who have been in Web3 for quite some time, and the lingo that is being used, like the others are just staring and have no idea what we are talking about. So I think we all need to kind of, again, to the point of like know your audience, adjust the language to the audience. It's a very important first step in how they see Web3 in general, and then how they see specifically for us NEAR. So I think choosing the right people to represent NEAR and Web3 and open web is a very crucial part that maybe sometimes we don't look so much into. And it's a huge opportunity.
Absolutely, and that's why we have such a smart people leading our regional hubs, right?
We hope so.
I hope so. Yeah, do my best.
But yeah, I think this is a beautiful, beautiful thought to actually end our panel here. So thank you everybody for joining us, and I hope you're gonna have a wonderful conference ahead. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Raili, for having us.